Welcome to In the Verse, song crafting for the Firefly universe, now on Apple Podcasts and all over the place.
Yep.
It's a real podcast now. My name is Marc Gunn, and I'm the creator of the Firefly Drinking Songs show.
And I'm Mikey Mason. I'm the creator of the Beer Powered Time Machine podcast.
And this is a part 3 of a 6-part series where we rewatch episodes of Firefly with the goal to find themes and stories that we can write songs about.
And it's 6 parts because the first 6 episodes were funded by Marc's fans in his Gun Runners Club, and they pledged enough money for each for him to hit this milestone, which allowed this show to happen, or these first 6 episodes to happen.
There are 8 more episodes of Firefly, so if you want this podcast to finish out the series, then make a monthly pledge to Mikey Mason on Patreon. He is at 89% of the way from his own milestone, and when we reach that, we will complete the last 8 episodes of the series, and maybe even do more past that. So Go to patreon.com/Mikey Mason.
Or if you enjoy Marc's music, you can always still make a pledge to support him at patreon.com/Marc Gunn Music.
All right, upcoming shows. I think we're both pretty late this month.
Yeah. You know what that means? That means I'm going to get a lot of writing and a lot of recording done. I lied.
I wish I could say the same. But it too would be a lie. I am playing every Wednesday at noon with Coffee at the Celt Father over on Facebook, and those bastards, they changed. I don't know if it's done it for you, man, but Facebook now has to be vertical. They no longer do horizontal, or at least my page.
They won't do. It has to be a vertical.
Yep,
that's weird.
I noticed it with my Celtic podcast a couple weeks back, and my regular page was fine, but this week it wouldn't do it. It said it had to be vertical. I was like, "You suck! You suck! I hate the vertical."
I will have to play with that. I have. My concert window show is about all I've got booked this month. I'm waiting to hear back on another gig or 2, but I'm not counting any. I'm not counting on any of that. November 16th concert window, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's a totally free show. You can log in to concertwindow.com and create a free account. You just have to have an email address. You don't need to, no money, no credit card numbers, nothing has to change place. Or has to change hands or anything unless you decide to tip. So, concertwindow.com, November 16th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And right now, I think we have 5 dates booked for the Blue Sun Holiday Spectacular Tour in December. We're going to kick it off on Saturday, December 8th at the Maggie McGinnis Pub in Huntsville, Alabama, and Sunday, December 9th at Brennan's Irish Pub in Birmingham.
And then the next week, we're looking for a Thursday night in Louisville, Kentucky, which we have another lead. We had one, that business closed, so we're looking for another one. But Friday, December 14th at Flying Cat House Concert Series in Indianapolis, Indiana, of course. Saturday, December 15th, Gateway Games and More in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Sunday, December 16th at the Fickle Peach, my favorite pub in Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah, and we could really use your help getting the word out about these shows. So we're looking for street team people. Email us. Or you can find us on Facebook in our fan page, the Blue Sun Holiday Spectacular Tour fan page, which would be awesome because we need to get the word out. So
absolutely, yes.
If you want us to tour, this is really important.
So we wrote songs last week, and, last week we didn't talk about the songs we'd written previously, but I think that it bears merit that we should. But since I wrote 2 songs, why don't I talk about one of my songs, and then we'll talk about one of yours, and I'll talk about my other song, and we'll just sandwich it that way. So the first of the 2 songs that I wrote actually was kind of a crossover between episodes 1 and 2, at least in inspiration. But from a writing standpoint, it kind of plays out from a knowledge of the entire series and the movie as well. But it's called Girl in the Box, and it's a very traditional country and western waltz. And in its final production, I can see all sorts of things from violin to accordion to harmonica to banjo, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe just a standard guitar arrangement. I'm not sure. And certainly lots of bluegrass style harmonies or old school country harmonies.
Maybe a little bit of auto harp, right?
Maybe a little bit of auto. You know what? That is a very traditional country western bluegrass.
Dude, we could totally turn this into a nice what is it, Carter family thing. It'll rock.
Are you going to be my June? Never mind. Let's not.
Please don't.
So, but it's just so straightforward, a song about River Tam, and it, plays on her name. She's a river of regret. She's a river of hope. She's a gift and a curse, which comes from a line that Simon says about her. And she has nightmares, and in the box, she's in cryogenic sleep. And, sometimes she has waking nightmares when she has those visions. So I have that line, in the girl in the box, now asleep, soon will wake, and she isn't quite sure which is worse. And 2x2 and Hands of Blue, they dissected her memories, and she isn't quite her, and she isn't quite gone, this girl in the box that nobody sees. So it's just a very moment in time. It's kind of that still held breath before they open the crate, that cryogenic freezing chamber box or whatever it is that Simon's got her in the hold. It's just kind of this moment in time, but also kind of painted by the foreshadowing, the foreknowledge of what's going to happen in the series. So, in 2x2 Hands of Blue, that you actually physically see that in episode 2. So that's where that crossover was. So I like my song. I would like to see it with it's a sketch. What we put out last week, that was a sketch of the song. It was a draft, and I want to see it fully realized.
Yeah. So my song was called Tough Times. Now, something has been sitting a lot there with me. I feel like the song is not finished. Obviously it wasn't finished. It was a rough draft, like you say, but
right.
I feel like that there's a narrative or a verse, I think, that might be missing, and I'm haven't been able to had time to mess with it yet, but which is torturous. But I love the chorus, how it's come together.
I love the chorus too. The little there's a vocal turn you take that I just adore on it. Anyway, please go ahead.
No. Hey, please, feel free to compliment me some more. It's like I'm a musician. Hello.
I better not. If I inflate your head anymore, there's not going to be room for both of us on the podcast. All right.
Touche. No, but I absolutely do. I absolutely love I love the melody and the entire song throughout. Definitely in the chorus, and the lyrics. It's not quite there. I feel like I started what I really last time looked at it. I was working on a third verse, so I feel like the first two verses were sort of a cohesive story, and then all of a sudden it jumps to the end. It's like I think the climax was really missed. So I'm gonna have to go back through it at some point and try to clean it up and see if I can fill in the bass. And I haven't really thought about instrumentation or anything from there, but I love I was really enjoying that chorus. It's just fun to sing. So
it is. And I sing it along with you.
Cool.
I mean, on my end of the MP3 player.
Right. So yeah, it's still working on it, but hopefully I'll have something together for it.
Cool. My the other song I wrote is called Shades of Grey, which is very directly influenced by episode 2, The Train Job. And we talked a lot about reputation versus action. And of course that plays out in These Are Tough Times as well. But this was, I don't know, I really dig this song. I've already changed some of the words from what they were on that other draft.
I love that song too, by the way. You're speaking of awesome melodies and it's just fantastic.
So the line I changed first, I wanted to make sure I got that train visual in there. So I feel like I'm stuck on a train or I'm tied to the track and it just keeps moving forward, no way to turn or to turn back. So it gets a little hazy in there when I throw out stuff like I hear you, then I hear your voice or whatever, you know. So anyway, I dig the song. I really dig the song. One of the lines that I've had issues with is in the chorus where I say it's the color of a beating heart when everything around me is shades of gray. And I like the visual. It's the color of a beating heart when everything around me is shades of gray. It talks about passion and compassion, and I really like that. So, but I'm been going back and forth because I also hear bleeding heart every time, and so I don't like Mal's totally not a bleeding heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's very passionate and very, very compassionate, but he's not by any stretch of the imagination a bleeding heart. So I've also I know it's kind of a tired trope with Firefly, but I'm considering changing the line and I have tentatively changed the line from "but it's the color of a beating heart" to "but this coat of brown shines like the sun when everything around me is shades of gray."
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Or this brown coat blazes like the sun when everything around me is shades of gray. So
you're really good at your lyrics, I gotta say.
Well, thank you. You make me feel like that English degree was put to
money
use.
well spent. Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I had an English degree. I got a geography degree. I'm qualified to move.
You could actually get a job somewhere. It's not like an English degree. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I found my own way with what I have. So, I'm working on it.
That's the way I feel. You know, I had to become a stand-up comic to make use of my English degree. Anyway, but I really adore that song, and I'm talking about your song. I like mine too. Don't get me wrong. I'm interested to see where these pan out because this has been getting me excited. You know, writing to a deadline. There is no better inspiration than the last minute.
That's for sure. I mean, you know, as I think about all the songs that I've written over the years, there's a lot of times they're because I need something. You know, so it's the same thing. Writing for a deadline. This is just a little bit more forced in a certain direction, you know, with a theme and whatnot. So,
I don't. Do you know anybody who does Inktober?
No.
31 days of ink drawings, and then there are prompts, right? And so I have a friend. I have lots of friends who did Inktober, and they're all amazing artists, and they did beautiful things. But one of my friends, Sean, who you met at Dragon Con, Sean Smith, he participates in Inktober, but he suffers from analysis paralysis sometimes. And so if you give him just a prompt, just that one word prompt, it has such wide-ranging implications. So what he decided for Inktober is he will use the prompts that they did, but he will also he said, I'll also make sure that everything I do or every picture I draw is influenced or drawn either from a fairy tale or a myth or some other storybook kind of thing. And it's that kind of Robert Frost never liked free verse. He always, mostly he wrote in blank verse or in, which is unrhymed iambic pentameter, or a lot of times he wrote in rhymed iambic pentameter. Not always, not entirely, but he said free verse, which is writing without rhyme scheme and without a specific meter in mind, that free verse is playing tennis with the net down, is what he would call it. And you can debate that, whatever it is. What I can tell you is that sometimes the more restrictions you put on yourself, the more creative you get.
Yeah, it helps. I think it forces the issue, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I experienced with this. I mean, we've got to write a song. It's got to be written this week. It has to be inspired by this episode. And then I force myself, oh no, torture, to watch an episode of one of my favorite series of all time.
Right.
And then I have to look at it critically and analytically. So
yeah.
And that brings us to where we are tonight, episode 3. Bushwhacked. Yeah. So here's a plot synopsis. Let's do this real quick, shall we?
Yep.
The crew of the Serenity, they encounter a drifting spaceship, and it turns out to be a short-range scow that converted to a one-way settler transport to the outer rim. Mal decides to check out the derelict ship in order to either help survivors, if there are any, or loot the dead, which there probably are. And he sends the crew off in teams to explore the ship, while he and Zoe head to a section that he suspects holds the more valuable supplies.
And there, Reaver enters and points out the mutilated bodies hanging from the ceiling. Mal suspects what did this and orders everyone to regroup in the engine room. But en route, Jane is hit from behind by an unseen attacker who Jane shoots blindly 4 times. Mal finds the wounded man hiding behind an air grate. They bring him back to their ship.
As Simon treats that wounded man, Mal explains that he must be the lone survivor of a Reaver attack. He explains, how the Reavers were driven insane after seeing the nothing of the edge of the galaxy and now commit unspeakable acts of evil. He allows Shepherd Book to say a few words over the victims while Kaylee removes a Reaver booby trap that attached itself to Serenity when they docked earlier.
Now, once the derelict's cargo is aboard, Serenity starts to leave, only to be stopped by an Alliance cruiser. The feds board the ship and find Mal and everyone but River and Sam waiting for them. River and Simon waiting for him. The salvaged cargo plainly in sight to avoid accusations of theft. Alliance Commander Harkin, that's his name, huh? Accuses them by harboring 2 fugitives and detains them for questioning.
You'd know that was his name if you played any of the Firefly board games.
Okay, I might be in the future. I'll talk about that later.
Commander Harkin interviews each member of the crew while his crew tend to the survivor and search Serenity. Simon and River, we can't say their names. Simon and River remain undetected as they are actually not in the ship. They're outside the ship wearing space suits clinging to the hull.
Harkin accuses Mal of attacking the settler ship, revealing that the survivor's tongue has been split, and implying that Mal had did it, keeping him from speaking. Mal, however, realizes that the survivor is becoming a Reaver, having been traumatized by what he witnessed. Harkin dismisses Mal's idea as nonsense designed to avoid blame.
As Harkin prepares to confine Mal, his lieutenant informs him that the survivor has killed the medical personnel attending to him and is now loose on the ship. Mal convinces Harkin that he knows where the madman will go. Harkin allows Mal to lead him and his soldiers back onto Serenity.
The survivor attacks the soldiers, but Mal is able to kill the Reaver, saving Harkin's life. As a result, Harkin allows the crew of Serenity to go, though he confiscates the cargo. Mm-hmm. After Serenity undocks, the cruiser is seen firing on the derelict ship, destroying it. Woo! So I'm going to start. I have to say really quick, this is my absolute least favorite episode of Firefly. That said, it has one of the best, my favorite scenes for backstory.
Yeah.
You know? I haven't figured out exactly what it is about this episode that why I don't like it. It might just because it's dark and disturbing on several levels.
Yeah, there are a lot of. I mean, there were bodies hanging from the ceiling, and they were lowering mutilated bodies from the ceiling. Not a lot of blood, but there was a lot of dead people.
And I think also, you know, the Reaver, you know, cutting his tongue and I don't know. It's something gruesome. That must have be what it is. Ultimately, is that I just you know, there's a TV show that I was watching, Goliath. I don't know if you've seen it. Don't watch it. No. It's got
all right.
Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton, is that his name?
Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's in it. First season, actually, I loved. The second season gets really freaking twisted, and there's just with like this guy's gets off on people without limbs, so they're cutting off things. So, and that episode, that show, it's mentally scarred me. And I think that it might be and when I thought about this episode and because of this and this recent thing, they kind of linked together, and it makes me wonder if that might have something to do with it. Maybe it's the defacement of the Reaver, how he puts inserts all these things in his body and cuts his tongue and goes insane. I don't know, but it was dark. So nevertheless, it was rough.
Sure, yeah.
But that said, as far as themes, this is probably one of the easiest themes episodes that there is. Civilization.
Yeah, sure.
It's right there. From the beginning to end. Did you get more than that out of it?
I you know what? That one was big enough that I missed it. It was hiding in plain sight, which is one of the themes that I got, hiding in plain sight.
Nice.
They hid Simon and River in plain sight outside the ship.
Yeah.
If they'd have looked outside at all, they couldn't have possibly missed them. They put the goods in plain sight so they could see it. Everything is about how did the Alliance cruiser happen to sneak up on them? It had to have been hiding in plain sight. There's all this. So I got a lot of stuff. Situational ethics. I originally wrote opportunity down, but it's situational ethics. They're constantly asking themselves during this episode, am I doing what is right? And then they are constantly challenging the concept of what is right based on our situation. Because, Shepherd Book wants to immediately notify the Alliance. That's the right thing to do. That's what we should do. And Mal is like, no. They don't care. They're not going to be here. This is the Outer Rim. And then, we should go over, and Mal's like, we should, and obviously Mal's looking for salvage, and Shepherd Book is, Simon is saying you might need a doctor over there or whatever. So, sure, we can all go over and try and help people. So the whole thing comes off as, a team building exercise to me. Like at the beginning, it's framed by this team building exercise of playing the whatever weird game they're playing, Calvin Ball or whatever it is.
Right.
And towards the end, Harkin's saying you have a loyal crew, and so there's that. There's the idea of ghosts, of being haunted, right? You're going through this creepy derelict ship. What's in the ship? There are they come across children's toys and dolls a lot. Like there's a tricycle and a ball, and a couple of times you see porcelain dolls. And that's, creepy. River's got nightmares going on. There's a theme of open up and see what's inside, because she says it a couple times. He says open up and see what's inside. The Reaver guy says open up, see what's inside. They're checking out these boxes. They're opening the ship to see what's inside. They're opening themselves to see what's inside. And that plays back into the situational ethics. Even Harkin, who is on his first tour, although he doesn't directly admit it, but Mal says, this is your first tour in space. He's getting opened up to see what's inside. You know what I mean? He's finding out who he is and coming into himself. So those are the things that I really got out of this. And but the biggest one that I got is nothing. There's this concept of staring into the black. Yeah. Simon has this moment, and this is what was most inspiring to me about the episode, where he's watching Zoe and Mal put on spacesuits. And he says it's hard to believe that a bit of mylar and glass can protect you from all that nothing. And Jane says it's impressive what nothing can do to a man.
Yeah.
And then...
Wow, you got some good stuff.
Yeah, and then later when they're hiding outside the ship, right, they're looking, and River's totally enjoying looking out into this vast expanse of stars and nothingness, and Simon is terrified, right? But Then, later in the ship, after open up, let's see what's inside, right? Mal says there's nothing more we can do to him. Not now, not after what he's seen. So, again, the nothing. And then he said later he says, Reavers ain't men, or they forgot how to be. Now they're just nothing. They got out to the edge of the galaxy, to that place of nothing, and that's what they became. And then it just plays right back into, it's impressive what nothing can do to a man.
Wow.
So, the other thing that I really got is the whole haunted and ghost thing. The Reaver is the settler who turned Reaver is haunted by what he's seen. And then, of course, River is haunted by what has happened to her. We later find in the series that Book is haunted by what's happened to him. Although we never find out what it is, he's obviously coming to deal with it. And then Harkin looks at Mal during this and says, you're still fighting the same battle, right? You're still fighting the same battle, and he's talking about Serenity Valley. So Mal is, of course, haunted. So, and then, there's a line that Mal says, darkness blacker than the space it moves through. That's just such a profound. So, there's all this, mercy would be to pull a bullet in his brain pan. There's all these great lines, but, the one that, kind of sums up a whole lot of the show is when he said, when Harkin said, you picked the wrong side, and Mal says, maybe you were on the wrong side, and he's maybe on the losing side, still not convinced it was the wrong one.
I love that.
Which talks about what is right and what is wrong, and then how you're haunted by your past. So mine's going to be about, I'm sure it's going to be about nothing, something about darkness and nothing and being haunted. Those are the things that just totally stick out to me. Although I gotta say, probably my favorite line in the show is, "Have you ever been with a warrior woman?"
I know. Like I said, I love those interactions, and that are they're just brilliant. We're very private people.
Yes. Yeah.
The legs and everything. Everything down that general area.
The part that connects the legs to the stuff up there, and yeah.
No, I'm
you
right
write
there.
that down. You can write that down.
Right. Yeah. So right then. Yeah, I obviously haven't come up with what I want to do. I mean, civilization was definitely the theme that stood. Was like the overarching theme of the entire episode that I saw. It starts and it ends with that wouldn't be civilized.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not sure if it's something that I want to write about, or if it is, I'm not sure exactly how to write about it yet. As I think about even just the word, it seems awkward. So I'm not sure if that's something I'm going to go with. Now, the other things that I have, that I recognize in there, there's the interaction with, Inara and River, or Inara and, Simon at the beginning, where, he's talking about, he says nightmares, which again, alludes to everything that's about to happen.
Yeah.
And Inara says we're all running from something, of course, which is a nice little foreshadowing for something that never is ever played out. What is it she's running from? Selflessly. But so there's definitely the look at the at nightmares, and horror stands with me there a lot. I followed the voices. This is one I think that struck me, and I did write on here in parentheses of civilization. I hear the screamings again of civilization. Is this something I could work with? Possibly. As I look at that, seems a good possibility. I did like that. In Shepherd Book mentions the story of the Good Samaritan, which, obviously Mal cuts off really quick. And I'm not sure exactly if that's something that could be mixed in there as well.
Yeah.
And of course, Shepard's statement of how we treat our dead is part of what makes us different from those that did the slaughtering.
Yeah.
And like you say, the cattle for the slaughter, that line stuck with me. I had this funny idea since I do drinking songs a lot. And again, I don't know how this would play out, but the idea of a Reaver's drinking song.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh, you should totally do that.
That could work, actually. I mean, if you work up the horrific lines and they're nonsensical,
You would either have to do like the Saw of drinking songs, or
it'd be like straight out of I'm drawing it. What's that author Faulkner? It's like a Faulkner book.
Yeah.
It's just kind of off the. I don't know. It could be weird. That could be interesting though. But that struck me as a.
If you could find a way to make it not quite so horrific.
I know that's the truth. That was the reason I was like skimmed over that. I was like, I don't know how but I probably could. I mean, you could turn it into something comedic.
We're gonna skin them, gonna eat them, gonna rape them. If they're lucky, we'll do it in that order. Whatever,
Let's see.
Sorry, that's. Don't write that.
Not like that. No, I won't.
No, not like that.
So those, I think, the big ones. So right now, I guess there is because you're pushing me in that, encouraging that idea of the
It's
Reaver
such an
drinking
interesting
song.
take, and it fits
really
exactly in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So I think that's a good one, and I think I followed the voices of Civilization. I think that's because Civilization to me was one of the big themes of this entire episode. So I think that those two things.
Yeah,
are where I'm looking at right now.
I think playing on Civilization and what's right, because just because Civilization is civilized doesn't mean it's civilized.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make the word scan better for a song. That's a hard one to parse.
Well, that's I'm not too worried about that, honestly. That doesn't even strike me. I mean, certainly Civilization, trying to sing civilization.
Yeah.
That'd be weird. But I do think that I think that's a good
you
thing
should
there.
totally, because play that, hearken. Mal says, you want my advice, you'll blast that thing from space or whatever.
Yeah.
You won't tow it back. You'll just blast it from space. And Harkin says, I can't do that. It's evidence. And Malcolm says, of course you can't. It's against the rules. But then at the end, Harkin does the right thing, which is the wrong thing from a policy and a civilization standpoint. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's probably the right thing. And so, it's an interesting and complex subject that I don't know how nuanced to take you're going to be able to do it on a song, but if you pull it off, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So
there's one more line that just sticks with me from this episode when they're talking about the guy they got in the sick bay.
Uh-huh.
And Malcolm says nobody escaped, and I think it's Kaylee who says well, except for him. And then Mal looks at her and says, nobody escaped. Nobody. And he's right. Nobody escaped. That dude definitely did not escape. He, was haunted the rest of his rather short life by the horrific things he'd experienced. And while, again, that might make a riveting song, I prefer to stay on the less explicit, more ambivalent side of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I'm writing, I would like my metaphors to be a little less explicit than to describe the horrific things that he saw. However, I am enchanted by this idea of a Reaver drinking song.
Okay. I'll see what I can come up with. That would be fascinating. I mean, one of the things I thought about as I was watching this episode, these Reavers, they're not idiots. They might be deranged, but they're not idiots. They can fly frickin' ships.
They can set booby traps.
They can set booby traps. So, I mean, they're obviously messed up in the head, but that doesn't mean that they can't actually think, and I don't know. A Reaver drinking song sort of makes sense in a weird sort of way.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I'm in. I'm interested. I want to hear that. I guarantee you, everybody listening to this wants to hear a Reaver drinking song, because we're about to take a break. We're about to take a break. We're about to split off into our separate rooms, our separate sections, separate segments of the world, hole up and create some art out of our art sphincters for you.
Did you have to go there? Yeah.
That's one of my standard metaphors for it is, when you're creating on demand, you're just pushing art out, and
I'm not going to argue that metaphor.
some of it's not so good.
Not all of our metaphors work.
Well, the metaphor is great. Some of the art's not so good.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Because it got pushed out my art sphincter.
Oh my God.
Hey, art sphincter sounds classier than art hole. Okay,
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna have to mess with the. I have to go back through the episode, but I think I'm gonna have to go mess with this drinking song idea, because I think. And the more I think about it, just my own world right now, I feel like I need something absurd and funny. And absurdity, that's one of my, I think you and I talked about this at the Fump Fest. Mm-hmm. We were talking about comedy, and I've never really thought of most of my music as comedic. I consider it more satire, or is my form of comedy. That's the type of stuff that, it's not laugh out loud funny. It's like, oh wow.
Makes you think and smile.
I hope it makes you think and smile, but it goes from, it goes in lines of the, puns. Someone once said to me that it's the highest form of comedy because it requires being able to actually understand context,
Oh yeah.
So absurd has always been for me easier. It's easy to create absurdity, whereas being actually funny, oh boy, that's a challenge. I don't know about you, but I could use a comedy song in my life.
Pretty easy. Clever and funny are not.
But I think, but I think a Reaver drinking song doesn't necessarily have to be clever. It can be absurd, which is funny as hell when you're talking about Reavers.
This is true.
I think there's a lot to the idea just of a Reaver drinking song is absurdly funny.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh! I have an idea, but I'll mention it off air.
Okay. All right. Well, shall we get to our writing booths and see if we can create something?
Yeah, let's retreat to our respective corners. If you have an idea for a song we should write, if you've written a song about a Firefly episode, you should let us know over on the drinking, or on the In the Verse Facebook page.
Yes. Yeah. In the Verse Facebook page. Yes. We would love to hear from you though. Because that's what this is all about. We want this to be a two-way street. We want your interactions. And of course, we appreciate everyone for listening and sharing the show and posting comments over on, if you're sign up on Apple Podcasts, go post a comment. Let people know that you enjoy this episode. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like we're signing off, because to us, we're signing off. It's going to be a little bit before we're back on because we've got to go make stuff. But we're not signing off. We're just saying in just a few seconds, you're going to hear the brilliant things that
Or absurd things.
You're going to hear the things that we...
You're awesome, Mikey. All right. So we will be back with some music in just a moment.
Hey, it's Mikey again, and I know I say this every time, but it just doesn't stop being true. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our Patreon patrons, the real big damn heroes who are helping ensure that this music gets made. Special thanks on my behalf to Robin Abbas, to the elder godfather James Doster, to Jeremy Jackson and Jennifer Lewis, my most admirable Hobbit friends, to Shouts Out Unicorn, a.k.a. Joey the Pooh, and to John Woolard. Thank you all so much, and I truly hope you're enjoying the music.
There's a wreck in the dark and we should say a prayer and slide on by. Every tragedy is someone's opportunity, just hidden in plain sight. Can't sleep, there's too much screaming. All these ghosts are in my head. In the dark we laid the bodies to rest, but like vultures picked the bones. Maybe here in the black they'll find some peace. Leave the rest of us alone. Can't sleep, there's too much screaming. All these ghosts here in my head. Can't sleep, there's too much screaming. But you tell me nothing's there. When mercy's a bullet in the brain pan, and the losing side ain't always the wrong one. And there's nothing left that we can't do. When you stare at the nothing, it stares through you until finally that's just what you become. Just when you think you've gone and figured me out, I blur the lines of sin and grace, and every trap I shake ends into more that I set for my own self, always digging my own grave. Sleep, there's too much screaming. All these ghosts here in my head. Can't asleep, there's too much screaming. But you tell me nothing's there. Ain't it chilling what nothing can do to a man when mercy's a bullet in the brain pan and the losing side ain't always the wrong one. And there's nothing left that we can do when you stare at the nothing, it stares through you until finally that's just what you become. 'Cause nobody escapes, nobody breaks free. We're all fighting the same battles that we always have. No resistance, no mercy, no one escapes. Nobody breaks free. And all these ghosts we think we've left behind are what we're doomed to be. No one escapes. No one escapes. There's a wreck in the dark and we should say a prayer and slide on by.
Hey, this is Mark, and I want to thank you once again for listening to this podcast. Like Mikey said, you are our big damn heroes. Ain't you just? We made this show for you. But in particular, I want to send out a huge shout out to my own heroes who made this possible. Thank you to Cora, Tammy, Matthew, Erica, Kalira, Taryn, Jen E., Justin, Blairness, Laramie Williams from Laramie on the Loose, Rich, Kristen, Theodore, William, Craig W., Ed, Jerry, Karen, Thalian, Chris, Jessica, Lisa, Brian, Jeremy, Eric, Rebecca, Jennifer, Shell, Jen W., Miranda, Doris, Kurt, Laura May, the Sincushes, Jolene, Angus, Christine, Josh, Johannes, Eileen, Kate, Tim, James, Gina and Joey, Kel Burrill, Alexis, Stephen Conroy, Randy, Marie Alm, the Winehousens, Rebecca, the Gorells, Beth, Troy, Susan, James, Les Howard of the Signal Podcast, Lilith, Merrick, and Carrie. I can't believe I have so many wonderful people supporting me, but thank you so much. Without further ado, here is my Reaver's drinking song. Bash their heads, flay their skin, make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done, let's start another refrain. Nishka was old and scary, a bad reputation. And then he heard a Reaver scream, his body's gone for cremation. Bash their heads, flay their skin, make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done, let's start another refrain. Badger was a businessman, roots in the community. A Reaver ate his little gang, and now he can't even pee. Bash their heads, flay their skins, make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done, let's start another refrain. Durin steak was always rare before I first met him. He met a Reaver, now won't eat steak, he's a vegetarian. Bash their heads, flay their skins, and make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done, let's start another refrain. Bester loved ships and women, they howled when he boarded them. His ship was boarded by Reavers, now he howls when they board him. Bash their heads, flay their skins, make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done, let's start another refrain. Boss Higgins' word was law, what he said was set in stone. Then Reavers hit Higgins' moon, the law's now written in bone. Bash their heads, flay their skin, make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done, let's start another refrain. Banty and Mingo are fine twins, you can't tell one from t'other. Until they met a band of Reavers, now Mingo's the prettiest brother. Bash their heads, flay their skin, make them scream in pain. Let him alone and think you're done. Let's start another refrain. Jubal was a bounty hunter, a sadist through and through. He rambled about philosophy while reavers started to chew. Bash their heads, flay their skins, and make them scream in pain. Let him alone and think you're done. Let's start another refrain. No mercy, they all were weak, cattle for the slaughter. Open them up, look inside, I think I see Harry Potter. Bash their heads and flay their skin, make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done. Let's start another refrain. Oh, bash their heads, flay their skins, and make them scream in pain. Let them alone and think you're done. Let's start another refrain.